second lecture on section 7.1 statistics, we're going to start looking at characteristics of a population. In other words, what we're going to do is we're going to analyze it numerically. We're going to analyze the data that we get numerically. So some things we're going to be looking for is, first of all, the measure of center, and we'll be discussing this later. The spread, which has another name called variation. This will come in section 7.2, as well as the distribution. So when I get my data, I'm looking at what is the center, how spread out is this data, and then what's the distribution? What does the picture look like? Is it all bunched? Is it symmetric? Is it bimodal or a peak, two peaks? What's happening? And so we'll get to that in a little bit. Right now we're just going to look at measures of center. Measures of center is another name for average. And I'm pretty sure you've heard of the word average. Average is a concept, not a formula. Lots of you say, okay, I'm going to find the average, and you find it by finding the sum and then dividing by how many were in the data set. And when you do that, you found what average we call the mean. The mean is the arithmetic average. It means that we're going to use arithmetic to find this average. Now the problem with this is the effect of outliers. There is an effect of outliers. And why would this be? Well, if you take an outlier, which by the way is something that lies away from the rest of the data. So for example, here's my data, and all of a sudden I have somebody out here. Well, when I add this value to these in here, which are very, very small, my average is going to be pulled to the right. That 100 is going to make my total larger, thus my average larger. We would call 100 an outlier. So a mean or an arithmetic average doesn't always give me a true picture if I have outliers. But geometrically, here's what you need to understand geometrically. And we will be doing some of this in class, just in some activities. Geometrically, my mean is my balance point. And again, that's probably kind of confusing, because again, if you go back to the wording here, we called it a measure of center. So we'll show how that balance point is a center of this data. Another measure of center is the median, and this one's much easier because it's truly a center. It is the middle data value. It's the exact middle, but what has to be true to find the middle, you have to order the data from least to greatest. Data must be ordered in order for you to find the median. So what happens if I have an even number in my data set? So for example, maybe I have 1, 3, 4, and 8. Notice it's in order from least to greatest. The middle number. Well, if I count middle number, what I like to do is go here. The middle number's here, and I don't have a number there. So it can't be 3 and it can't be 4. So what we do then is we take the arithmetic average of the two, which means I would go 3 plus 4 divided by 2. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So that would be my median if I had an even number. If I had an odd number, if I wrote an odd numbered set here, 5 then would be my median. Once again, notice it's ordered from least to greatest. And what's really nice about the median is there is no effect of outliers. Why would that be? It didn't matter if this was 180. My median still would have been 5. So the median just takes those away, and you still end up, no matter what, if you have an outlier, it will not affect that middle number. And lastly, the mode. And the mode is kind of your typical value. And I don't really like that they use value. Mode is used for qualitative data. It's a quality. It's a word. It's a category. It's not so much a number. And so it's typical by what occurs the most often. So if I look at my math for elementary teachers, I would say the average student in my math for elementary teachers is female. That would mean most often I have more females in the class than males, most often. And you need to realize that a set may not have a mode or may have more than one mode. So mode isn't used for numerical data. What we use mode mostly for is going to be our qualitative, our qualities, such as most students in math for elementary teachers are going to be female. So we're going to do one more lecture on 7.2, and that's measures of dispersion, and that will be next.